Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at something that pretty much everyone has, but almost nobody actually looks at, your 401k.
Exactly. We've gone through a stack of source material, and it all really boils down to two main villains here: hidden fees and, well, just plain old human inertia. The mission today is pretty simple. We want to help you find what could be thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars that you might be leaving on the table.
I think the sources are so powerful because the premise is just,
Oh?
it's so relatable. Millions of us, and I'll raise my hand here, we signed up for our 401k or maybe a 403b. We put in just enough to get that company match, and then we just, mentally filed it away.
Set it and forget it.
That's the phrase, best one.
And when you apply that phrase to an investment account, it's like a ticking time bomb.
Huh?
The sources we looked at follow someone who did exactly that for more than a decade.
And then the bomb went off, the moment of
Yep.
truth, right? They finally log in, they pull up the statements, and that growth they were expecting, it just wasn't there.
It was being siphoned off quietly day after day.
He said his stomach just dropped. So, okay, let's unpack this because we don't want you to have that feeling. But first, a really quick ask. We want this kind of actionable, nuts and bolts financial info to get to everyone who needs it. So if you get any value from this deep dive, please just take 2 seconds and like and share this video. It is truly the single best way to help the Mind Expansion Daily channel grow.
And if you're feeling generous, you can buy us a cup of coffee.
Yes, and please drop a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from. Okay, let's go find you some money.
Let's start by busting the three biggest myths that let these fees hide in plain sight for decades.
Myth number 1 is the one we just hit on, that set it and forget it is actually good strategy for your 401k. Why is that so wrong?
Well, because we treat it like a savings account. And it's just not. A 401k is an investment account, full stop. The sources are really clear on this. That lack of attention, specifically ignoring the fees, can, and I'm quoting here, quietly bleed you dry for decades. Which brings us to the big one, the expense ratio.
Right. And when the author finally dug into the documents, what was that number? What was the percentage he found?
He found funds with expense ratios over 1.2% a year. Now, for anyone listening who hasn't seen this number before, it's just a percentage. It's a slice taken right out of your investment balance every single year to pay for the fund's management. You never see a bill for it.
It just vanishes.
It just reduces your returns every day.
Okay, but 1.2%, it still sounds kind of small. I mean, on 10 grand, that's what, $120? Why did his stomach drop?
Compounding. That's the devastating math. You take a fund charging 1.2% and compare it to, say, a low-cost one at 0.2%. That 1% difference feels tiny. But over 30 years, that 1% difference year after year can cut your final retirement balance almost in half.
Wait, almost in half?
Almost in half.
So if I was on track for $1 million, that little 1% difference means I might end up with, what, maybe $550,000, and the other $450,000 just went to fees.
Precisely. It's the lost opportunity. It's not just the fee itself. It's all the money that fee would have earned for you over 3 decades. This is why checking your fees is the single most important thing you can do.
Wow. Okay, that leads right into myth number 2. The idea that all the fund choices in your plan must be good just because your employer offered them. You just assume HR vetted them, right, for your benefit.
And the sources say that's a very generous assumption.
Yeah.
The reality is the plan is usually a mix of options, and a lot of them are these expensive, actively managed funds. These are the ones where a manager is trying to beat the market, and they charge you a premium for that attempt.
And they usually fail, right?
Consistently. The data shows they consistently underperform the simple, boring, market-tracking index funds.
And the cost difference is insane. The source said these active funds were charging 10 times more.
10 times. And the specific example was a large-cap growth fund. Over the last 10 years, it had lagged the S&P 500 index by 3 to 4%. Every single year.
So you're paying more to get less.
You're paying a massive premium for underperformance. It's truly death by 1,000 cuts.
And this is where the story gets, I think, genuinely infuriating. The default option, the target date fund. What did he find there?
Yes. Target date funds sound so responsible, right? They automatically get safer as you get older, so they're often the default choice. But his plan's default, something like Freedom 2055, had an expense ratio of 0.75%.
Okay, 0.75 is already really high, but what was the comparison?
He looked it up and found that a provider like Vanguard offers basically the identical funds, same strategy, same goal for 0.08%.
0.08.
He was paying 9 times more for the exact same thing, just because it was the default, the path of least resistance.
That feels criminal. How is that even allowed in an employee benefit plan?
Well, the sources suggest that these plans are often chosen for administrative convenience for the employer. Or worse, the fund companies might offer kickbacks to the plan provider. The employee's best interest isn't always priority number one.
Which brings us to the last myth. Myth number 3. The employer match makes it all okay.
And look, to be fair, the match is free money. You should always contribute enough to get the full match. That's non-negotiable.
But there's a catch.
There's a huge catch. If your investments are losing, say, 2% a year to fees and underperformance, and then you factor in inflation, let's say 3 or 4%, like we saw in 2022, even with the match, you're barely treading water. Your actual purchasing power is basically flat. You feel like you're saving, but the real value is just stuck.
So the 401k is not a crock pot. It's a machine that needs a tune-up.
An annual tune-up, at least.
Okay, so once the shock wore off, he took action. Let's get to the solution, the actual steps you can take, maybe this weekend, to fix this.
This is the action plan. This is what makes all the difference.
Step 1.
Yeah.
Document discovery. This sounds hard, but it's really not. You just have to log in. Log in and download the fee disclosure documents.
Yes. You're looking for a really specific and, frankly, a very boring legal document. It's usually called the fee disclosure or sometimes the 408B document. By law, they have to provide it. It lists all the fees, the administrative fees, the fund fees. You have to find that long, boring PDF.
Okay, got the boring PDF. Step 2, research the ratios. You have the list of funds. Now what?
Now you go to a neutral third-party site like Morningstar, and you look up each fund's expense ratio. Cross-reference it. And the source gives a great rule of thumb here. For a stock fund, anything over 0.20% is suspect. For a bond fund, anything over 0.10%.
It better have a really good reason for being that expensive.
A really, really good reason. Or you walk away.
And this leads to step 3, which is a big aha moment, finding the buried treasure.
Absolutely, because what he found was that his plan did have good options. They were just hidden, buried way down at the bottom of the list. Specifically, he found a basic S&P 500 index fund with an expense ratio of 0.03%.
0.03. So it was there the whole time.
It was there. He had just been defaulted into the expensive one.
Yeah, that changes everything. So if you find that hidden gem, step 4 is easy, make the switch. What was the strategy?
Total simplification. He moved everything, his existing balance and all future contributions, into what's called a simple 3-fund portfolio.
Let's break that down. What are the 3 funds?
It's typically a total U.S. stock market index fund, a total international stock market index fund, and a total bond market index fund. The logic is just pure, simple diversification at the lowest possible cost. You own a tiny piece of basically every company and bond in the world.
And the result of that one evening of work, what did it do to his bottom line?
Immediately, his overall weighted expense ratio dropped from that awful 1.2% all the way down to 0.05%.
Wow.
And the analysis showed that this one single change is on track to put an extra $300,000, maybe more, into his pocket by retirement.
$300,000, that's the so what?
That's the whole point of this deep dive.
And the only thing stopping most people from getting that is inertia, just not doing it. The sources cited studies showing most people never change their investments, ever.
Which really forces you to ask that critical question.
Yeah.
Why are millions of us just sleepwalking into a retirement that's 30, 40, even 50% smaller than it could be?
And the answer is?
Nobody cares about your money more than you do. Not your employer, not the fund company, and not the HR department. It's on you.
Okay, let's give everyone the final super clear checklist. This is your homework for the weekend.
Your 90-minute challenge.
First, log in. Just log into your 401k portal and take a screenshot of what you have now. That's your before picture.
Second, find that fee disclosure, that 408B2 document. Dig around the website. It's there.
Third, look up every fund ticker you own. Write down the expense ratio next to each one. You have to know the numbers.
Fourth, scan that list for a low-cost S&P 500 or total stock market index fund. If it exists, move your money. Embrace that simple 3-fund portfolio.
Fifth, while you're in there, bump up your contribution. Just 1 or 2%. The author noted you probably won't even feel it in your paycheck because it's pre-tax.
And the last one, the most important one, set a calendar reminder right now for 1 year from today to do this all over again. It's an annual checkup.
The person in our source material did all of this in about 90 minutes. 90 minutes for a potential 6-figure return. That's a pretty good hourly rate.
You know, beyond the math, the real benefit is the peace of mind. It's knowing you've built this simple, efficient, low-cost machine that's just designed to capture what the market gives you. You're no longer fighting against your own investments.
So, what does this all mean? If a regular person, someone who thought index fund was just some finance bro buzzword, can figure this out in one evening, you can too. Your future self is begging you to spend an hour on this. And here's the final thought to leave you with, building on the sources. We talked about fixing bad funds inside your 401k. But what if you do all this and you find your plan is just irredeemably awful? No low cost index funds at all, not even buried ones.
That's not the end of the story.
Right. It's a signal. It's a
Yeah.
signal that your next step might be to contribute just enough to get the match and then funnel every other retirement dollar into an account you control completely, like a Roth or a traditional IRA.
An account where you can pick any 0.03% expense ratio fund you want. That next level of control,
Mm.
that's a critical path, and it's absolutely worth exploring.